All right, ladies and gentlemen, hello. My name is Darius Anucauskas, and I'm the Chief Market Analyst here at Markets.com. And today is Tuesday, the 5th of August. Yep. What I wanted to pick up today on is the BoE interest rate decision, which is coming out on Thursday, basically. We do have an eventful calendar this week. We have not some actually, a lot of PMIs coming out, so check out the economic calendar for that. But yes, one event, if you are trading the British pound or something related to UK, then yep, keep your eyes on that one. Look, I'll jump into that in a bit. Just before we go any further, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So yes, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation and should not be considered as such. This material should not be taken as an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. I'll give you a few seconds to read the rest. I'm not going to disappear anywhere. So yes, like I said, yes, the BoE is expected to cut rates. We'll look into that, of course. Look, before we look into that, a quick mentioning of our Markets.com website, which you can always check out for more information about us. If you have any questions, reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to assist. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a look at the economic calendar very quickly. So, yeah, Thursday the 7th, and this is what I'm talking about. So the BoE interest rate decision. Now, what's interesting is this one will. We are expecting a cut on this one. The previous one did not get a cut. Let me just launch the chart very quickly. Yes, switch to daily. And what can I say? Just a second. Yeah, what can I say? Why is it not showing up? Why is it not showing up? You know what? Let me just restart this chart again, because this should be popping out very much. No, right? Okay. This should not be like this, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just leave this very quickly. Let me just save this for now. This is the pound. I'm going to pick up on the pound, but why is this chart not launching? I don't know. There we go. There we go. Now I just have to save it probably on that side. Anyway, you see that these things sometimes happen. So if you have something similar happening to you, now you know how to fix that. Look, this is what I'm talking about. So last time we had a stall moment. So they stalled at 4.25. So in June, when the interest rate came out, they decided to keep it as previous. However, now I think that they are starting to slowly get worried about a possible possible slowdown in the economy, because look, in general, the stock market has been running significantly to the upside, right? I mean, only recently we started seeing some, like last week, we started seeing some corrections back down, but I think that what they want to do, maybe again, this is just theory. This is what I'm thinking about, because maybe they're worried that inflation might pick up later on. So they have this opportunity right now to go and cut rates in order to hike those later on when the time will come. So in a way, we know that the inflation target, the BOE's inflation target, is around 2%. And let me just try to find the GB inflation let me just see if the chart we can. Or will it be under IR? No, it's going to be GBIR. Yes, inflation rate, that's the one that I'm looking at. So there we go. So the headline year-on-year inflation number has been ticking up slightly. And since kind of September of last year, we can see that we are kind of on a gradual incline, right? After experiencing this sharp decline, now we're on a gradual incline. Now, of course, don't get me wrong. This doesn't mean that we will go up and away here. No, of course there are concerns. maybe we'll have such a slowdown in the economy that inflation will just drop significantly. So maybe that's what they're also thinking about. Again, there's like a lot of things here to consider. Of course, inflation, on one hand, inflation can go higher because of the tariffs, because of the all these trade deals, all this uncertainty. On the other hand, maybe because of that uncertainty, an economic slowdown could happen, and basically inflation could just kind of, drop. So, long story short, because everybody is talking about stagflation, basically, when you have higher inflation, higher unemployment, and lower economic growth. Maybe we're leaning a little bit more towards higher inflation rate, basically higher CPI. Now, this is, of course, like I said, and that's why maybe the bank is kind of prepared maybe to go for a cut. We know that the MPC committee, MNPC members, the Monetary Policy Committee, basically last time there were 3 people in favor of the cut, but there were 6 people in favor of kind of keeping the rates unchanged. Now the tides have shifted. Now there's 7 people in favor of the cut, and 2 people are actually willing to go for an unchanged number. Now, how this could kind of spill into pound pairs. Now, GBPUSD at the moment, look, recently we saw this decline here after peaking in the beginning of July. And the first day of July here, throughout the whole July, we were drifting lower. And looking at this daily chart, you can see that we drifted all the way to the 200-day EMA here, my 200-day EMA on the daily chart, which is shown here as the white line. So we rebounded from that last week on Friday, and now we're kind of stalling below the 100-day EMA. So basically, we're stuck in between all these EMAs. Now, that's why I have my upside and downside scenario slightly further away. So my downside scenario is on a break below this 1.3139 zone, marked by the lowest point of May of this year. Because at the same time, if we break this level, we could drop below the 200-day EMA, and this way will basically we could be confirming a forthcoming lower low, possibly opening the door to even much lower areas, like for example around here, the 1.2707. But again, don't get me wrong, it's a good area right here as well. So that's why we could actually focus maybe on something around here, around the 1.2875 zone. So I think that could be a good area to consider. So long story short, for the downside, this is my game plan. I know it's a good area of support. It's a strong area of support right here. That's why I'm respecting it, and I'm waiting until I get a nice clearance of this area. Now, in case of the upside scenario, well, again, we have a little downside line taken from the highest point of July. So basically, just a nice clearance of that downside line could do the trick for a few more buyers, because at the same time, we could also move above all my EMAs on the daily chart, and basically above the 50, the 100, and the 200. And this could be seen as a nice little positive signal. Don't get me wrong, there are still obstacles on the way higher, the same as obstacles on the way lower. But again, we kind of, when we're trying to justify let's say the upside or the downside scenario, we're trying to use all the tools and all the signals available to us. Now, in terms of other pairs, I wanted to pick up quickly on GBP JPY. Now, this one is a little bit of a different animal. Let me get rid of this drawing, because here last week we saw this major decline, because again the Japanese yen has been strengthening, because the stock market has been drifting significantly to the downside. And this is what we got. This is where, this is what kind of a move we got here. And the question is for me right now, what's next in a way, right? I mean, we tested the 100-day EMA. We're now rebounding from it. But basically, we're kind of stuck in between these EMAs. So whenever we get stuck like that, I'm trying to avoid this, and I'm waiting for better times. And look, I think that it's logical to say that maybe it's a little bit better to wait here. So if you're looking for some lower levels, we'll wait for at least a drop below this week's low near the 195 zone. A nice good drop below that would confirm a forthcoming lower low. A very quick glance at Euro GBP, by the way. Look, I don't like this pair. Honestly, we don't have a very loving relationship with this pair, or I don't have a very loving relationship with this pair. It has a mind of its own, but I still look at it. I still look at it because why? Because it's interesting. It's fascinating. To watch something that doesn't always kind of. Or I would say it has a mind of its own because it has like it's following some sort of like a random walk thing here, and it's not very technical. It's difficult to apply technical analysis on this. Sometimes it is, but it's always like a gamble. It's like, if the market is already 50-50, right? This one's like 49% always not in your favor. So it's like whatever, like it's 51% always against you somehow. Anyway, but long story short, look, I mean, for this one, dear Euro GBP, I will say that if we do pop above the 0.8737 territory right here, I will consider a move to the upside, at least for now, at least for a little bit to the upside. So yeah, keep that in mind. So yeah, and very quickly on the FTSE actually as well, just wanted to pick up on that one. So the FTSE cash index here, look, I talked about this before in my webinars. By the way, you can join my Markets Talk webinar, or you can watch it as a recorded session. It's available on our YouTube channel, so just check it out. So look, I talked about the FTSE 100, and basically after we created a new all-time high here on Thursday last week, we then kind of drifted back down. We drifted back below the previous all-time high. Okay, now it's not the previous, but yeah, it was at that time. It was the previous. So whenever we have a situation when we go for an all-time high that day, but then at the end of the day we stay below the previous all-time high, then well, that's a bit of a bummer. That's a little bit of a bearish signal for me at least. And we did go lower, we traveled to the downside, tested this 9,041 zone, and yep, pushed back up. So long story short, there is at the moment we're very close to the all-time high, but I would need to see a clearance of that all-time high. On my chart is around 9,189. So yes, if we can get a nice clearance of that, a forthcoming higher high will be confirmed, and I'll go to the upside. My next target is this 78.6 here on the Fibonacci extension near the 9,264.65 zone ish. I have this Fibonacci extension drawn this way. I mean, look, it's very subjective. Some of you will agree, some of you won't, but hey, I'm drawing it from the lowest point of October of 2022 to the highest point of March of 2025, and then the lowest point of April of 2025. Of course, you could, in a way, you could draw it maybe this way. Let me just see what's going to happen here. Then you'll have yourself a very wide area here until we could reach the 50%. So, that's why I'm being a little bit maybe more realistic or something. I don't know. Like, I mean, look, I think this is a significant area to consider. I think that this is something that we will continue considering. So, hey, let's see what's going to happen here, if this is going to work out. So, but in general, I always, in these scenarios, in cases like these, I always say just kind of be careful here. Maybe just aim for the nice, beautiful number instead whenever we are in an uncharted territory. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this little quick update on the BoE. Look, I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for watching and listening. I really appreciate your time. Your views, your likes, your comments, everything is useful. Thank you very much for all that. So, hey, I'll see you next time in my next video update. Bye for now.